Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature channel. Tonight, let yourself settle in somewhere soft. Pull your blanket a little closer. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Let your breathing slow like a tide going gently out. We're going to spend this evening drifting through one of the most quietly extraordinary corners of the natural world. Tonight, we're going to visit the octopus, not to marvel loudly, not to be startled or surprised, just to sit beside one in the imagined stillness of a cool ocean and watch the way its mind moves. Because the octopus thinks, it remembers, it dreams, it plays. And when you understand how and why, the world feels a little softer, a little more full of life, a little more generous in its mysteries. So, breathe in slowly, and let's begin. Somewhere in a shallow bay, where the water is clear as glass and the light filters down in long golden shafts, an octopus sits at the entrance of a small, rocky den. It has arranged a few shells and pebbles at the doorway, not randomly, but deliberately, like a person organizing their front step. This is one of the first things scientists noticed about octopuses. They are tidy, they have preferences. They return to the same home again and again, and they know which rock fits where. The den itself is the octopus's thinking space. It retreats here when the world is too much, just as you might return to a quiet room. Inside, draped over a smooth stone, the octopus rests. Its skin pulses with color, soft amber, then pale cream, then a gentle wave of brownish rose. Even at rest, it is telling a quiet story with its body. An octopus has around 500 million neurons, as many as a dog. But here is what is remarkable. Most of those neurons are not in the brain at all. 2/3 of an octopus's nervous system lives in its arms. Each arm thinks in a way on its own. It can taste, touch, and respond to the world without waiting for a signal from the central brain. This means an octopus is not one mind. It is something closer to a chorus. 8 thoughtful arms, all contributing to the whole. You can breathe out slowly now. There's nothing to do, just listen. The octopus's skin is doing something extraordinary right now, even as it rests. It is filled with cells called chromatophores, tiny elastic sacs of pigment, each one controlled by a muscle. When the octopus wants to change color, its brain fires a signal, and thousands of these little sacs expand or contract at once, like a living mosaic rearranging itself. The change can happen in less than a second. It is one of the fastest forms of visual communication in the animal kingdom. But here is the quiet wonder. The octopus is colorblind. Scientists believe that despite not being able to see color in the traditional sense, octopuses may detect light through their skin itself. There are light-sensitive proteins called opsins distributed across their entire body. They may, in a way, see with their skin the world of color that they create and that they use to hide, to communicate, to express, maybe a kind of feeling as much as a sight. How extraordinary to feel color, to wear your mood on the outside instantly, without effort. Rest your hands softly wherever they are. Feel the warmth of the air around you. The octopus has no bones. Its entire body, except for a small, hard beak, about the size of a parrot's, is made of soft muscle. This means it can squeeze through any opening large enough for that beak to pass through. A hole the size of a coin can be a doorway for an octopus the size of a dinner plate. They have been found inside sealed crab traps, inside closed containers, inside the shells of other animals, not because they forced their way in, because they flowed. Scientists once filmed an octopus escaping through a hole barely wider than a pencil, its entire body following its beak like water, finding a crack in stone. It did not panic. It did not rush. It simply moved, as if dissolution were the most natural thing in the world. There is something deeply calming about that image. The idea of moving without resistance, of fitting yourself to the shape of whatever opening is in front of you. If you're enjoying this gentle journey, feel free to leave a like on the video. It helps more people find their way here to this quiet space. The octopus's beak, that small hard center, is made of a substance similar to our fingernails. Tough but not rigid, flexible at the base. The beak is used for eating, yes, but also for testing objects. An octopus will sometimes bring something up to its beak the way you might hold something close to examine it more carefully. A curious gesture, a thoughtful one. Octopuses eat many things: crabs, clams, small fish, shrimp, but they are never reckless about it. They take time. They are, in the gentlest sense of the word, strategic. An octopus hunting a crab does not simply grab it and hope for the best. It watches, it circles, it times its movement. It has been observed using rocks and shells as tools, not just to hide behind, but as shields to approach prey, holding the shell in front of itself as it moves across the sea floor. A tool using invertebrate, something with no spine, no face in the way we think of faces, no voice, and yet using a tool. The ocean floor is quiet now in your imagination. Light moves slowly across the sand. The octopus finishes its meal and returns to the den. It tucks itself inside with a small adjustment of its arms, the way you might pull a blanket up around your shoulders. Its skin shifts to a soft, mottled tan, a resting color, a sleeping color. And there, in the warm dimness, it breathes through its siphon, a small, muscular tube that draws water through its body and pushes it out again, in and out, like breathing, a rhythm you can match if you want to. Breathe in with the ocean and breathe out. The octopus spends much of its time alone. It is, by nature, a solitary animal. It has its den, its territory, its preferences. But solitude, in the octopus's life, does not mean emptiness. It means full attention to the texture of the sand, to the scent of a crab carried on the current, to the way light bends differently when the water is disturbed above. Octopuses have two large, camera-like eyes, and these eyes are remarkably similar to our own, despite evolving along an entirely separate path. They have a lens, a retina, an iris that can expand and contract. The pupil is a long horizontal stripe, a shape that gives the octopus a panoramic view of the world, even while looking mostly forward. It can see above and to the sides and in front simultaneously. It misses very little, and yet those same eyes, so good at gathering light, cannot distinguish color. They see the world in what may be shades of brightness, light and shadow, movement and stillness, a world rendered in soft grayscale, rich in texture, alive with motion. Imagine how differently the ocean might look in that light. Not less beautiful, just differently beautiful. The way moonlight makes everything both simpler and deeper. Let your eyes, wherever they are resting now, go soft. Let the edges of things blur a little. You don't need to focus on anything at all. Scientists who study octopuses, and there are not very many of them, since studying something with no bones in the wild is remarkably difficult, have noted something curious. When octopuses sleep, their skin sometimes flickers with color. Pale waves of pattern move across their mantle. Spots appear and fade. Tentacles curl and uncurl. Researchers at the Marine Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole watched a sleeping octopus named Costello change color dramatically while apparently deep in sleep, flashing pale, then dark, then rippled with complex patterns, then still again. This cycle repeated through the night. Some scientists believe octopuses may dream, not in the way we dream perhaps, not with narrative and memory forming into scenes, but some process of the mind running quietly, practicing colors perhaps, or replaying the movements of a hunt, the sleeping brain doing its nighttime work. There is something very soft about that thought. An octopus asleep in its den, dreaming in color. The world it cannot consciously see playing itself out in pulses on its skin while it rests. You are resting too, right now. And whatever happens in your mind as it grows quiet is part of that same long tradition. The body and the brain settling together into the slow hours. Has lived here for weeks, and it knows has lived here for weeks, and it knows every contour of this little cave. It knows the angle at which morning light enters. It knows which rocks shift when the current changes direction. An octopus has a spatial memory that researchers find astonishing. In laboratory mazes, which, it should be said, octopuses navigate in their own unhurried way and on their own terms, they learn routes quickly. They remember which path leads to food. They remember which paths led them into a dead end. They update their mental maps when the maze is changed. Memory requires a structure in the brain called the vertical lobe, and the octopus has one, well developed, well connected. This lobe is thought to be critical for learning and remembering. It is, in a sense, the octopus's library, a small animal with a library inside it, with a record of where it has been and what worked and what didn't, sitting in its den now, not thinking about any of this consciously, but carrying it all the same. If you haven't already, do check out the playlist on this channel. There are other stories waiting for you there, other quiet evenings in the natural world whenever you need them. The octopus stretches one arm out of the den slowly, like a question. It reaches toward a patch of sand just outside and runs the tip of the arm across it. Octopus arms are lined with suckers, sometimes hundreds of them on each arm. And each sucker is both a gripping tool and a sensory organ. The suckers can taste the sand. They can feel the tiny movements of something buried beneath it. They are, in a way, fingers and tongues combined. This single arm exploring the sand outside the den is gathering more information per second than most of us receive looking at a scene. Every grain of sand is distinct. Passed by hours ago. The octopus withdraws passed by hours ago. The octopus withdraws the arm and is still again. Outside, a small fish drifts past. The octopus watches it with one eye, unmoving. The fish does not know it is being watched. It weaves between strands of kelp and disappears. The octopus does not follow. It is not hungry. It simply noticed, filed the information away, continued resting. This is something researchers call inhibitory control, the ability to not react to something interesting when reaction is not necessary. It is a sign of what psychologists call executive function, the ability to manage your own responses. To wait when waiting is the better choice. The octopus is patient in a way that seems almost philosophical. It does not chase every moving thing. It does not investigate every curious shadow. It weighs somehow and decides, not tonight. Not that one. Later, perhaps, or not at all. Breathe out slowly. Let the air leave you gently. There is nothing that needs chasing right now. In the laboratory, researchers have done something that sounds almost like a joke, but is entirely serious. They have played games with octopuses, not structured games with rules the octopus agreed to, but play, genuine play in the behavioral sense, has been observed in octopuses kept in research tanks. Scientists offered them objects that had no food value, no threat, no obvious usefulness. Small floating bottles, textured balls, rubber rings, and the octopuses came back to them. They carried them. They pushed them away and retrieved them. They explored the same object repeatedly, even after knowing everything there was to know about it. This is play. It serves no immediate survival purpose. It is exploration for the pleasure of exploring. It is the behavior of a mind that is not purely reactive, a mind that can be interested in something just because it is interesting. Octopuses in captivity have been known to shoot jets of water at humans they found annoying, specifically and repeatedly, at the same person, not at others, which means they recognized the individual, remembered their feelings about them, and had a method of expressing displeasure. There is a small, quiet humor in imagining this. A creature the size of a softball in its tank, watching a particular technician walk by and thinking, "You again," and waiting until they are close enough. Let yourself smile softly if you like. The world is sometimes wonderfully strange. A researcher named Jennifer Mather, who has spent decades studying octopus personality and cognition, has described individual octopuses as having distinct personalities. Some are bold, some are shy, some are intensely curious and will approach anything new immediately. Some hang back, watching from a distance for a long time before they engage. In one set of observations, she and her colleagues found that octopuses showed consistent individual differences in how they responded to novel objects and to mild stress, differences that stayed the same over time across situations. This is what we mean by personality, not a fleeting mood, but a stable pattern, a way of being in the world that persists. An octopus with a personality, a shy octopus for whom the world is a little much, a bold one for whom every new thing is an invitation. Let your breathing be slow and easy. You don't need to be anything in particular right now. The octopus in our imagined bay is of the curious kind. It has left its den now, moving in that fluid, almost boneless way across the sea floor. Its 8 arms ripple and shift, each one tracing a slightly different path, sampling different textures. It moves the way thought moves, not in a straight line, but in a kind of distributed exploration, touching everything, committing to nothing in particular yet. It comes to a clam. The clam is closed, of course. Clams are very good at being closed. An octopus faced with a closed clam has several options. It can try to force it open with its arms, which works on smaller clams. It can chip at the shell's edge. Or, and this is the part that made researchers pause when they first observed it, it can drill. The octopus has a radula, a tongue-like structure covered in tiny teeth, and paired with the beak, it can bore a small hole directly through the shell. Through this hole, it injects a chemical, a paralyzing compound from its salivary glands, which relaxes the clam's muscle and allows the shell to open. The octopus then scoops out the soft interior, a key, a door, a chemistry lesson, all contained in one quiet transaction on the seafloor. Do leave a comment if you're finding this soothing. It means a great deal, and it helps others find their way to this quiet channel. The ocean water is very still tonight in our imagining. A few particles of sand drift slowly down, catching the light. The clam is empty now. The octopus has moved on, leaving the shell behind like an opened book. There is a kind of writing on the seafloor, if you think of it this way. The evidence of lives, of meals, of small transactions. A crab claw here, a circle of disturbed sand there, an octopus den surrounded by its collection of shells. The sea floor reads like a diary, if you know the language. Octopuses are also capable of something called observational learning, learning by watching another individual. In one experiment, naive octopuses watched trained octopuses perform a task, pushing a ball toward a specific target, and then performed the task themselves, faster than octopuses who had never seen it done. They did not need to discover the solution independently. They watched, understood, and applied what they had seen. This kind of learning, watching, and imitating is the foundation of culture. It is how traditions are passed on, how innovations spread, how one individual's discovery becomes a community's knowledge. In octopuses, who live alone and die without knowing their own children, this is a remarkable capacity. They can, if they happen to encounter another octopus, learn from them. A single social interaction might be enough to transmit a piece of knowledge. A brief encounter carrying the weight of learning, like a stranger who tells you something you needed to know and then disappeared. The octopus pauses on a stretch of open sand and, for a moment, is completely still. Its skin becomes exactly the color and texture of the sand beneath it. Not just the same color, but the same pattern of grain, the same subtle ridges. It vanishes. It is still there, of course. It is still. But to any watching eye, it is simply not there. This disappearing act is called crypsis, and it requires the octopus to simultaneously assess the visual texture of its surroundings, generate a matching pattern across thousands of skin cells, and hold that pattern as it sits completely still. It is, in every meaningful sense, a work of art, performed in under a second, maintained without apparent effort, perfect enough to fool predators that have been hunting octopuses for millions of years. The sand breathes. The octopus breathes. You breathe. And the world is very quiet. There is a particular stillness to the seafloor at night. The light that filtered down through the water during the day has faded to a deep blue-green. Not dark, exactly, but soft. Dimmed. The way a room feels when a lamp has been turned down low. The octopus moves through this dimness with ease. Its eyes are well suited to low light, the horizontal pupils wide open, gathering whatever brightness remains. It knows this territory. It is not lost. It is simply moving through the familiar world with different illumination, the way you might walk through your own home in the near dark. Octopuses are primarily active at dusk and through the night. Dawn is a time for returning to the den for rest. This twilight lifestyle keeps them out of the path of the larger fish that hunt by day, an adaptation built over millions of years, until the preference for dusk became as natural as breathing. But even in the dark, the octopus is not unguarded. Each eye moves independently, and together they give the octopus nearly a full 360-degree view of the world around it. Not all of that view is in clear focus at once, but movement anywhere in that sphere will be noticed. The octopus is, in the best sense of the phrase, present in its surroundings, fully there. Let yourself settle a little deeper now. Let your body be heavy and warm. The darkness outside is soft. There is nothing to notice. Nothing that needs watching. In the 1990s, researchers at the University of Cambridge began a series of experiments that would quietly reshape how we think about animal minds. They were testing whether non-human animals could demonstrate something called episodic memory, the memory not just of facts, but of experiences, the memory of when something happened and where and in what context. For a long time, this kind of memory was considered uniquely human. We remember experiences as experiences, not just as information. We can go back in our minds to a specific afternoon, a specific smell, a specific quality of light. Octopuses, it turns out, have something like this. In experiments where octopuses were given different types of food at different times of day and in different locations, they learned not just what was available, but when and where specific food had been available before. They made decisions based on a memory of a specific past event, not just a general learned rule. Not quite the same as a human memory, perhaps, but the same kind of memory, the kind that holds a specific when and where and what. A small story, a record. You have memories like this too, ones that come to you in moments of stillness, not lists of facts, but entire moments. The particular light of a certain afternoon, the smell of a specific place. You're not so different in this one quiet way from an octopus resting on the seafloor in the dark. If you're enjoying this story, consider exploring the rest of our playlist. There are many quiet evenings waiting for you there. The octopus has found a crab. The crab, sensing something, freezes in a patch of broken coral. The octopus freezes too. This is a standoff made of stillness. Two animals in the dark, neither moving, both thinking in their own way about what comes next. Then the octopus moves. Not quickly, not a lunge, but a kind of flowing expansion, its arms spreading wide, its body arching forward, dropping over the crab the way a cloud's shadow falls over a hillside. Enveloping, complete. The crab cannot run in a direction that is not already covered. The octopus uses its arms to gather the crab in, bringing it toward the beak. And here is the extraordinary part. If this particular octopus has encountered crabs before, it knows specifically where and how to bite for quickest effect. Different prey requires different technique. A crab and a clam and a small fish each require a different set of decisions. The octopus remembers what worked. It applies that memory. This is not instinct in the simple sense, not a fixed program running from birth. It is learned expertise. The octopus has gotten better at hunting crabs over its lifetime. It has, in a sense, become skilled, a craftsperson of the seafloor, working in the dark. The octopus retreats to a ledge of rock with its crab and feeds quietly, deliberately. There is a tidiness to the way it eats, pulling the crab apart carefully, extracting the meat without scattering debris. When it is finished, it holds the empty shell for a moment, then sets it down with a gentle, unhurried gesture that looks almost like care. The empty shell settles on the seafloor. The octopus is still for a moment, as if appreciating the completion of something. Then it moves on into the blue-dark water, arms trailing like thoughts. The den is not far. The night is long. There is more to explore, or there is rest. The octopus will decide, as it always does, in its own unhurried time. Let your breathing be as slow as the current, in and out, easy and even. The octopus is, in geological terms, very old. Octopuses have existed in recognizable form for over 300 million years, since before the dinosaurs, before the first trees grew tall on land, before the supercontinent Pangaea had fully assembled. They watched from the ocean as the world above them changed beyond recognition again and again. And in all that time, they chose a different path than most successful animals. They did not develop hard shells for protection as their ancient ancestors had. They did not form schools or flocks or herds. They did not grow large and slow and armored. They became soft and fast and smart. The softness is key. Without a shell, without armor, the octopus must think its way to safety. It must use camouflage and speed and darkness and wit. Intelligence in the octopus's story is not a luxury. It is the alternative to armor. The shell it chose was made of neurons. There is something in that idea worth resting in for a moment. The choice, made not consciously, but through millions of years of selection, to be soft and smart rather than hard and simple, to meet the world with flexibility rather than force. You are soft too right now, comfortable and warm, and that is enough. In colder waters, off the coast of Tasmania, lives one of the most remarkable octopuses in the world, the day octopus, or Octopus cyanea, sometimes called the big blue octopus for the blue ring patterns that flash across its body when it is active. This octopus hunts in daylight, which is unusual. It is acutely visible to everything around it. And so, it has developed one of the most sophisticated camouflage systems in nature. Researchers have cataloged over 50 distinct skin patterns in this species, not just colors, but textures. The octopus can raise or lower small muscular bumps called papillae across its skin, changing its surface texture in an instant. Smooth skin for sand, bumpy skin for coral, ridged skin for the edges of rocks. It does not merely change color, it changes shape. It becomes three-dimensional camouflage, a sculpture of light and texture, assembled in under a millisecond. Imagine changing not just your color, but the texture of your skin to match any surface you stand on, to make yourself not just invisible, but part of the very thing you're resting on. Let your own skin be soft and warm now. Let your whole body be still and comfortable. A creature that can do this must have extraordinary fine motor control. Each of the thousands of papillae on an octopus's skin is independently controlled. The chromatophores and iridophores, cells that reflect light in particular ways, are each connected to the nervous system. The color change and texture change are coordinated, simultaneous, immediate. A performance the octopus is not even conscious of, in the way we might not be conscious of maintaining our balance when we stand. The body is wiser than the conscious mind in many ways. It knows things and does things that the thinking part of us never fully grasps. Do feel free to like this video if it's bringing you some calm. It helps so many others find this quiet place. There is an octopus species called the mimic octopus that takes all of this one extraordinary step further. It does not just disappear, it transforms. Discovered in the early 1990s off the coast of Sulawesi in Indonesia, the mimic octopus has been documented impersonating at least 15 different species of animals. A flatfish, flattened and rippling. A lionfish, arms spread and waving like venomous spines. A banded sea snake, two arms lifted and undulating, the rest of the body buried in sand. It chooses which animal to imitate based on context. Near a territory belonging to aggressive damselfishes, It has been observed imitating the banded sea snake, a known predator of damselfishes. It is using theory of mind, knowing that the damselfish fears the sea snake, and presenting the right disguise for the right audience. It is theater, deliberate, context-sensitive, audience-aware theater. From an animal the size of your forearm, the ocean is full of small, extraordinary performances, all of them happening right now in the dark water under the reflected light of wherever the moon is tonight. Let your mind drift. You don't need to follow everything exactly. Just let the soft ideas move through you like current through water. Scientists sometimes describe the octopus as the closest thing we have on Earth to an alien intelligence, a mind that evolved along an entirely separate branch of the tree of life, arriving at thought through a completely different path. If we ever encounter a truly alien intelligence, they say, it might be as strange as an octopus, distributed, embodied in its entirety, not located in one central place. Thinking through sensation, through touch and taste and light. But perhaps alien is the wrong word. Perhaps the more beautiful word is other. The octopus is another way of being intelligent, another way of meeting the world, of knowing it, of moving through it. Not lesser, not stranger, just different. And the difference is exactly as wonderful as the similarity. Rest your eyes now. You are exactly where you need to be. The octopus's brain, physically, is shaped like a donut, a toroidal structure with the esophagus passing directly through the center of it. Everything the octopus swallows passes through the ring of its own brain. This is why octopuses are careful about what they take in their beak. Too large a piece of food, and it would press against the brain itself during swallowing. This small anatomical fact, strange as it is, speaks to something important. The octopus's mind is deeply, physically integrated with its body. Of mind, find octopuses useful to think of mind, find octopuses useful to think with. If intelligence lives in the arms as well as in the brain, if the body itself can think, then what does that tell us about minds? About where thought lives? The octopus is, in a quiet way, a living question about what consciousness even is. These are not questions for tonight, though. Tonight is for softness. Tonight is just for listening. There is a species of octopus called the blanket octopus, and the females of this species grow to be about 6 feet long. The males, however, are tiny, barely an inch. In fact, the blanket octopus holds the record for the largest size difference between males and females of any animal on Earth. The female is roughly 10,000 times heavier than the male. Has seen this display would describe it as has seen this display would describe it as anything other than magnificent. A creature opening herself to her full, astonishing size, as if saying, I am here, I am entirely here. Let yourself be entirely here too for a moment. Warm and present, and exactly the right size for this moment. Octopuses, like all cephalopods, have blue blood. This is because their blood uses a copper-based protein called hemocyanin to carry oxygen, rather than the iron-based hemoglobin that makes our blood red. Hemocyanin is particularly good at carrying oxygen in cold, low-oxygen environments, the deep ocean, the cold sea. In warm temperatures, it is less efficient than hemoglobin, but in the cold world of the deep ocean, it works beautifully. Blue blood, a heart made for cold water, a mind made for the dark. Pumps the oxygenated blood through the systemic heart, which pumps the oxygenated blood through the gills, where it picks up oxygen. The third, the systemic heart, then pumps the oxygenated blood through the rest of the body. When an octopus swims, propelling itself through the water by forcing jets of water through its siphon, the systemic heart stops beating during the jets. This means swimming is exhausting for an octopus. It tires quickly. And this is perhaps another reason they prefer to walk along the seafloor on their arms rather than swim. Walking is gentler on those three hearts. Three hearts, choosing the gentler path. You can check out our playlist for more of these nature stories. Each one is its own quiet world, waiting for whenever you need it. In the Caribbean, there is a species called the Caribbean reef octopus that builds elaborate dens. It selects rocks of specific sizes and shapes, combines them with shells and coral rubble, and assembles them into a wall with a specific entrance hole, sized precisely to allow the octopus to enter while excluding most potential predators. It is, in effect, building a door, a customized door sized and positioned by the builder for the builder. Researchers have documented octopuses carrying these stones with them when they move to a new location, transporting the raw material of their next home the way a person might carry furniture when moving house. The den, when complete, is a still and private space, safe from current, safe from predators, oriented in a specific direction, often near a supply of food. It is, in every sense that matters, a home. And the octopus that built it knows it as home, returns to it, rests in it, modifies it over time as needs change. Let your own sense of home, of safety and enclosure, wash softly over you now. You are in your space. You are comfortable. There is nothing that needs attending to. The octopus in the reef is quiet now. Its den is dim and warm, the water moving gently outside. Its color has shifted to a steady, muted brown, the sleeping pattern. If you were watching carefully, you might see the occasional slow wave of pattern across its mantle, a ghost of something, a traveling thought, a sleeping dream of the sea. Night deepens. The current carries small things in the dark. Plankton drift like tiny stars. Somewhere above, the surface reflects the actual stars, the light coming down through fathoms of water softened into blue. The octopus breathes. You breathe. The sea breathes. And everything is very still. In 1992, a researcher named Graziano Fiorito and his colleague Pietro Scotto published a study that made waves in the world of animal cognition. They had done something simple and extraordinary. They had shown one octopus performing a task while another octopus watched. Then they had tested whether the watching octopus had learned anything. It had. The observer octopuses outperformed naive octopuses at the same task significantly. They had watched, understood, and stored what they saw as useful knowledge. One octopus's experience had become another octopus's knowledge through observation alone. This was not, at the time, what people expected from a mollusk. Octopuses were supposed to be simple. Invertebrates, animals without spines, were generally assumed to operate on instinct, on fixed responses, on hardwired behavior. The idea that one could learn from watching another stretched the boundaries of what the category invertebrate was expected to contain. It stretched the boundaries, and that was good. That was exactly what nature intended. Boundaries in science, like boundaries in the sea, are always approximate. Let your own boundaries soften now. Let yourself be a little less defined, a little more like water. In the deep ocean, far deeper than the sunlit waters where our imagined octopus lives, there are species adapted to a world of perpetual darkness. The Dumbo octopus, named for the large, ear-like fins that extend from its mantle and which it uses to swim, lives at depths of up to 7,000 meters. It drifts through the dark waters slowly and softly, those fins waving gently, like a creature made entirely of patience. At those depths, pressure is enormous, hundreds of times the pressure we feel at the surface. Temperatures hover just above freezing. There is no light at all, except for the bioluminescent flickers of other creatures passing in the dark. The Dumbo octopus lives its entire life in this world and is, by all evidence, perfectly at home there. The world is so much larger than we can easily imagine. So much of it lives in cold and dark, in quiet and pressure, in conditions we could not survive for a moment. And in all of those worlds, there are minds. Small, embodied, patient minds going about their lives in the perpetual dark, eating, resting, exploring, being curious. This thought, if you let it, can be a very comfortable one. The world is large, and it is full of life, and very little of it requires you to do anything at all right now. The Dumbo octopus has no ink sac. Most octopuses, when threatened, eject a cloud of dark ink into the water, a blinding, disorienting cloud that gives them precious seconds to escape. The ink is not merely dark. It contains a chemical called tyrosinase that irritates the eyes and dulls the sense of smell, interfering with a predator's ability to track prey by chemical signal. It is a multi-sensory defense, but the Dumbo octopus in the deep dark has no predators that hunt by sight. There is nothing to blind with ink. And so, over millions of years, the ink sac gradually disappeared, an organ, unneeded, quietly dissolving away into gentleness. There is something almost philosophical in that. Things not needed, gently released. The body always tending toward simplicity, where complexity is no longer required. Let anything you don't need right now gently be released. Do leave a comment if you're finding this calming. Even a small one means a great deal and helps other tired people find their way to this quiet space. The octopus is extraordinary for its lifespan, in the way that a candle is extraordinary for its light. Most octopus species live only 1 to 3 years. Some live less than 6 months. The giant Pacific octopus, the largest octopus species in the world, with an arm span that can reach over 4 meters, lives perhaps 3 to 5 years. They are brief lives, by almost any measure. But in those brief lives, so much happens. The learning, the building, the exploring, the playing, the personality, the memories, the small moments of satisfaction and curiosity. All of it compressed into a year or 2 or 3. Perhaps this is why they waste nothing. Why each gesture seems deliberate. Why rest and exploration both appear to be pursued with quiet fullness. They do not have the luxury of indefinite time. They have now, and they use it. You have now, too, this quiet moment, this soft breathing, this stillness. This is enough. This is, in its way, everything. The night around us, around you, wherever you are, is deep and calm. Stars are doing what stars do, steadily and without urgency. Somewhere in a cold sea, an octopus is asleep in its den, dreaming in colors it cannot name, its 3 hearts beating their slow and private rhythm. And you are here, and that is good. Among the octopus's most remarkable gifts is the sucker. Each arm carries 2 rows of suckers, and each sucker is a world unto itself. The largest suckers near the base of the arm are powerful gripping tools capable of holding with a force several times the octopus's own body weight. The smaller suckers toward the tips are extraordinarily sensitive instruments. Each sucker is lined with chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors, cells that detect chemicals and cells that detect pressure and texture. A single octopus arm tracing across a surface is tasting, feeling, and structurally mapping that surface simultaneously. The information flowing back through the arm is richer than anything our fingertips can produce. This is how an octopus finds a clam buried under 3 inches of sand. It doesn't see it. It doesn't smell it in the usual sense. It feels the chemical trace through the sand, feels the subtle differential in pressure, maps the buried shape through the medium of the substrate itself. The seafloor, to an octopus's arms, is transparent. Let your own sense of touch become vivid for a moment. The texture of whatever you're lying on or sitting on, the warmth of the air against your skin, the weight of your own body resting. These sensations are always there. Sometimes we just forget to notice them. In one particularly lovely series of experiments, researchers gave octopuses a puzzle box, a clear container with a crab inside, closed by a simple latch. The octopuses solved it. Then the researchers made the latch more complex. The octopuses solved that too. Different octopuses found different solutions. Some worked the latch with a particular arm, some with a particular technique. Their individuality expressed itself even in problem solving. Then the researchers gave them a jar with a screw-on lid. Octopuses solved the jar too. They could be seen turning the lid slowly, carefully, using one arm and then another, adjusting the grip as the lid loosened, pulling it free with what appeared to be satisfaction. Opening a jar from the outside, the quiet competence in that image, An animal with no tools, no hands in the way we think of hands, methodically turning a lid until it comes free, just to get to the crab inside. Just because the crab was there and the jar was a solvable problem. Do check out the playlist on this channel. Each story is its own quiet journey, and they're all there whenever you need them. When an octopus explores a new object, it often uses a specific sequence. First, a visual examination from a distance. Then, a slow approach with one or two arms extended. Then, tactile exploration, tasting and feeling the object from multiple directions. Then, a decision. Keep exploring, carry it, eat it, discard it. The sequence is patient and systematic, a kind of scientific method practiced by an animal that has never heard of science. This exploration sequence is thought to be a form of information gathering. The octopus is building a model of the object in its mind, its size, texture, chemical composition, weight, rigidity. It is making a map of a small thing, placing it in context, understanding it as completely as it can before deciding what to do. We do this too, in our own ways. We handle new things carefully at first. We learn the shape of them. We try to understand before we commit. The octopus lifts the new object in two arms and holds it for a moment, turning it slowly. The suckers sweep across every surface. The object is understood. The octopus sets it down and moves on. Simple, complete, enough. The cold water near the seafloor carries the faint scent of deep ocean, a mineral smell, clean and ancient. The octopus, moving back toward its den in the slow hours of the night, passes through patches of water that are subtly different temperatures, subtly different salinity. It notices these differences in ways that don't rise to anything like conscious thought. They are just the texture of the water, the texture of home. An octopus can detect water temperature changes of less than a degree Celsius. It can detect shifts in salinity that are imperceptible to our instruments. The ocean, to an octopus, is not a uniform medium. It is a landscape, varied, readable, familiar. You know the landscape of your own home in this way too. The particular creak of a floorboard, the specific way the air smells in your kitchen, the temperature of a room at different hours. You navigate by these small things without knowing that you do. Let the familiar landscape of wherever you are hold you now, warm and known and safe. Octopuses communicate, not in the way we communicate, not with language, not with sound, not with gesture in the human sense, but the skin is constantly telling stories. Researchers studying octopuses in the wild have cataloged dozens of distinct body patterns used in social contexts. Patterns with names like accentuated passing cloud, diamantic display, split mantle, and the dramatic blanching white of extreme threat or arousal. These patterns appear to be understood by other octopuses. They change behavior. They signal. Two octopuses approaching each other exchange information before they are close enough to touch. The skin of one reads the skin of the other. Something is communicated. Identity, perhaps. Size, mood, reproductive status, and then a decision is made. Approach further or withdraw. It is a form of conversation made of light and texture, the body itself as language. No words, no sound, just pattern and the reading of pattern. In the deep quiet of the evening, this idea is very beautiful, that a being could speak entirely with its body, could be fully, completely understood by another, just in how it appears. You don't need to speak right now. You can just be here, just as you are. When male and female octopuses meet and mate, a process that is, in many species, the only prolonged social contact they experience in their lives, there is a particular gravity to the encounter. The male extends a modified arm, called a hectocotylus, and passes a packet of sperm toward the female from a safe distance. In some species, the male remains at arm's length the entire time. The female, who is often larger, might well eat the male if something goes wrong. And yet, these encounters are not merely mechanical. In the giant Pacific octopus, mating encounters can last for hours. The two animals touch, explore, and remain together in a way that has no obvious survival explanation beyond the mating itself. They have been observed doing what looks to a watching human like resting together. Two solitary animals briefly together, the rarity of that contact perhaps making it gentle in a way that more frequent contact would not be. There is a quiet loneliness and a quiet beauty in the octopus's way of life. To be that fully oneself, to live almost entirely in one's own company, and then occasionally to be briefly, carefully, entirely with another. If this video is reaching you at the end of a long day, know that you are welcome here, exactly as you are. The octopus mother is one of the most devoted animals in the ocean, and also one of the saddest by the measure of our human feelings. After mating, a female octopus finds or builds a den, and there she lays her eggs. Thousands of them, sometimes pale, elongated capsules, hung in strings from the ceiling of her den like tiny chandeliers. Then she stays. She does not leave to eat. She does not hunt. She guards her eggs, blowing water gently over them to oxygenate them, removing debris, preventing infection. She does this for weeks or months, depending on the species. The giant Pacific octopus guards her eggs for 6 to 7 months. During this entire time, she does not eat. She is sustained entirely by her own reserves, which slowly diminish. By the time the eggs hatch, she is weakened. She will not survive long after. She will not know her children. She will not guide them or teach them. The eggs will hatch. The tiny octopuses will rise to the surface and feed on plankton, and she will be gone. A full life poured entirely into the next one. This is not sad exactly, or it is sad in the way that all deep natural things are a little sad and a little beautiful at once. She does not know she is dying. She does not grieve. She tends her eggs with what appears to be complete presence, adjusting, cleaning, breathing water over them until the last, complete and whole and enough. The night is very quiet now. The current barely moves. The eggs in some imagined den glow faintly in the dark water, and the mother watches over them, steady and soft. Her skin is pale. Her breathing is slow. You breathe slowly too. You're safe. You are watched over in all the ways that matter. You might wonder, lying here in the soft dark, what it would actually be like to be an octopus, to have 8 arms that each think a little on their own, to taste with every touch, to change color without effort, the way breathing is effortless, to live in a world where the medium you move through carries information in every molecule, a sea full of messages, most of them not meant for you, but readable if you know the language. Scientists who work closely with octopuses often describe a particular quality of being observed by them. When you look at an octopus and it looks back, there is something unmistakably there, a regard, an attention that feels mutual in a way that is different from looking at a fish or a crab. The eye is very like our own, and behind it there is clearly something thinking, not thinking our thoughts, not thinking in our categories, but thinking, being curious, evaluating, forming some small internal representation of you, what you are, what you might do, whether you're interesting or threatening or irrelevant. Being seen, really seen by an octopus, is a small and significant thing. Let your eyes grow heavy now. Let the soft dark behind your closed eyelids be a comfortable place. The giant Pacific octopus, Enteroctopus duflini, is the largest octopus in the world. A large individual can have an arm span of over 4 meters and weigh more than 70 kilograms. They live in the cold waters of the northern Pacific, Japan, Alaska, British Columbia, down the coast of California. They prefer cold, oxygen-rich water, rocky reefs, the shadowed places beneath kelp canopies. These octopuses are reported to be particularly inquisitive with human divers. They will approach and touch carefully, gently, multiple arms exploring the unfamiliar form that has arrived in their world. Divers who spend time with them describe being held gently, the suckers tasting the wetsuit and the hands, the arms draping in exploratory patterns, not threatening, not frightened, just curious. And the diver, suspended in cold green water, being slowly and thoroughly examined by something that has been alive on this coastline for thousands of individual generations, something ancient and strange and entirely present. Do leave a comment or a like if this kind of storytelling helps you rest, knowing that helps us keep making these quiet evenings for you. In aquariums, octopuses have been observed escaping from their tanks, crossing the floor of the aquarium room, entering another tank to eat the fish there, and returning to their own tank before morning. In some recorded cases, the escaping octopus was only discovered through careful analysis of security footage. Its absences had been nightly, methodical, and completely undetected. A heist conducted by an animal with no bones and 8 arms, carried out in the dark, leaving no evidence. A plan executed with patience and precise timing over multiple nights. To the drama of its own actions, simply to the drama of its own actions, simply hungry, simply solving the problem available to it. The solution happened to involve opening one tank, crossing a room, entering another tank, eating, and returning home. These were just the steps the problem required. simplicity on the other side of extraordinary complexity. The water in the imagined ocean is very still now. The octopus is in its den, arms gathered around itself, breathing the soft brine. Outside, the reef is quiet. Somewhere nearby, a parrotfish sleeps inside a bubble of mucus it has secreted around itself, a softly glowing sleeping bag of its own making. Small fish cluster in crevices. The moon, somewhere above, pulls gently at the water. Everything in the sea has found its place for the night. You have found yours. The comfortable weight of the dark, the soft sound of your own breathing, the warmth that has gathered around you, the way warmth does when you stop moving and let the world be still. The octopus breathes. You breathe. In the deep water and the dark land, two breathing things are at rest, and the distance between you for this moment is exactly nothing at all. By day, the reef is a different world. Light fills it from above, fracturing into moving lines along the sand. The corals glow in their daylight colors: amber, ivory, pale lavender, the living orange of a sea fan caught in current. Fish move through this light in loose formations, each species with its own pattern and altitude and way of turning. And in a shadowed crevice, behind a small wall of chosen stones, the octopus sleeps. Its skin is dimmed to a mottled tan and brown, a sleeping pattern. The arms are gathered and loosely curled. The siphon moves with slow regularity. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you might not see anything at all. Just a smooth, organic shape that is part of the reef's texture. Sleep, for the octopus, is still somewhat mysterious to science. We know they enter something like deep sleep because the brain activity slows and the body goes limp in the particular way that indicates genuine rest, not just stillness. We know they seem to experience something during these deep phases that produces the flickering color displays, those light shows of the resting skin. What the researchers cannot yet tell us is whether there is experience, whether the octopus is somewhere in that sleep, whether the resting mind is moving through a world of its own construction, the way we move through dreams. But the color speaks, and it seems to say something is happening here, something more than maintenance, more than housekeeping, something that uses the full vocabulary of the waking octopus in the dark, alone. Let yourself be somewhere in your own dark, wherever your mind wants to take you in the quiet. Follow it softly, without forcing. The octopus has a particular relationship with play that scientists find significant. Not all animals play. In fact, across the animal kingdom, the capacity for play is generally correlated with intelligence, with social complexity, and with behavioral flexibility. Animals that play tend to be animals that can adapt, learn, and problem-solve in flexible ways. Octopuses play alone, and sometimes with objects offered by researchers. They engage in behavior that has no survival function, repeated, varied, apparently enjoyable. They bounce objects, examine them from multiple angles, manipulate them in ways that generate new configurations without any apparent goal beyond the manipulation itself. This is curiosity, without objective, exploration for its own sake. The pleasure of the new thing, of the unfamiliar texture, of the unexpected response when you push this particular way. It is, in a word, play. And that word means something real. Our playlist has more of these quiet stories, each one a different corner of the natural world, each one made for evenings like this one. The octopus's cognitive abilities may have evolved, in part, because of its hunting lifestyle. Pursuing prey that actively evades requires real-time decision-making, not instinct, but improvisation. Each crab is a different problem. Each clam is a different shape. The environment of the reef is three-dimensional and constantly changing. A hunter that relies on fixed responses will go hungry. A hunter that can think will eat. Over millions of years, the thinking hunters ate more than the instinctual ones. They survived better. They raised more offspring. The thinking spread. The brain grew. The arms became smarter. The whole nervous system became more complex, more integrated, more capable. Intelligence, in the octopus's case, was pulled into existence by hunger and by the extraordinary complexity of the reef. The reef itself, by being so varied, so changeable, so full of different problems, created the mind that could navigate it. We, too, were shaped by our environment, by the problems that needed solving, by the world that pushed back against us and made us, over millions of years, more and more capable of response. The world made us, and it is still making us all the time, in every challenge and every quiet evening and every moment of needing to rest and restore ourselves. This moment is making you too, softly, quietly. You are resting, and that rest is doing its work. The afternoon light over the reef is long and golden now, the way it gets when the sun has moved to the west and the angle changes from direct to oblique. Everything is warm and a little hazy. The parrotfish have moved to the shallows to graze on coral, their teeth scraping rhythmically, the sound carrying through the water as a soft, regular percussion. The octopus stirs in its den, not yet fully awake. Somewhere between sleep and waking, the color plays across its skin. Amber, cream, a small stippled pattern. Then stillness. Then amber again. Not long now before dusk. Not long before the reef shifts again, the day creatures retreating and the night creatures beginning their quiet emergence. The octopus will wake to the smell of the cooling water, to the changing light, to the particular quality of an evening ocean. For now, though, sleep. For now, warmth and dark and the slow turning of the world. For now, rest. The octopus has been with us in its current form for an almost unimaginable length of time. The oldest confirmed octopus fossil, found in Cretaceous deposits in Lebanon, is approximately 95 million years old. It looks, in the rock, almost exactly like an octopus you might see today. 8 arms, large eyes, mantle, the body plan that works, maintained without significant change for nearly 100 million years. The dinosaurs came and went. The mammals rose and diversified. The primates emerged from the forest, and eventually one of them began wondering about the nature of intelligence. And all the while, in the sea, the octopus went on being an octopus, exploring its reefs, building its dens, dreaming its skin-colored dreams, patient as the water, durable as the stone. There is something deeply calming about this deep time, about the knowledge that some things simply persist, quietly, without drama, through every catastrophe and transformation. The sea is always there, and in the sea, always, the octopus. You are here, and you will rest, and tomorrow the world will continue, steady and ordinary in all its extraordinary ways. And that continuity, the deep continuity of nature going about its business, is one of the great quiet comforts. Breathe in that comfort. Let it be as slow and steady as the sea. In the Sea of Japan, there is a kind of octopus known locally as the Suminagashi dako, the ink-spreading octopus, which creates elaborate patterns in the sand around its den, using shells, stones, and bits of coral. Researchers studying this behavior for the first time were struck by the complexity and consistency of the arrangements. The same octopus, over multiple days, would maintain and adjust the same basic pattern, adding, removing, rearranging. Was this decoration? Was it structural? Some combination? The researchers weren't sure. The octopus seemed to have preferences about the arrangement, preferred stones of certain colors or shapes in certain positions. It returned to rearrange elements after they had been disturbed. It behaved, in other words, as if the arrangement mattered, as if a right way and a wrong way existed for where each stone should go. We call this aesthetics when we observe it in humans. We call it homemaking when we observe it in birds. When we observe it in an octopus, we are perhaps not sure what to call it, but it is clearly something, a preference, a sense of how things should be, a mind that has opinions about arrangement. Feel free to like the video and share it with someone who might need a quiet evening. Every small gesture of support means the world to this channel. The octopus has, in some experiments, demonstrated something close to what researchers call forward planning, taking actions in the present that will only have value in the future. In one case, an octopus was observed carrying two halves of a coconut shell as it walked along the sea floor. The shells, in that moment, were cumbersome. They made walking harder. They had no immediate use. Shells were not food. They 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 shells were not food. They were not threats. They were a future shelter carried ahead of need. The octopus had anticipated that it might later want a place to hide, and it carried the means with it, planning for the future, tolerating present inconvenience for the sake of future benefit. A cognitive operation that requires holding a model of not yet existing situations, an imagination of a kind, an octopus with an imagination. Let your own imagination be soft tonight, not busy, not constructing, just available, like water held gently in cupped hands. The reef has been asleep for a few hours now. The moon has moved to the west, and its light lays a quiet road across the surface of the sea. Down below, in the blue-green dark, the reef moves gently with the current. Has found a new rock. Smooth, slightly has found a new rock. Smooth, slightly larger than its own body, and spent several minutes examining it before deciding it was not useful for anything in particular and moving on. It is moving slowly back toward its den now, its arms sampling the familiar seafloor, its colors shifting in the quiet way of an animal that is not hiding, not displaying, just being, just being. What a lovely thing to do. The den comes into view, the distinctive arrangement of stones at the entrance. The octopus pauses, makes a small adjustment to one of the entrance stones. Perhaps it shifted during the day, and slips inside. The water inside the den is still and slightly warmer than the open ocean. The smell is familiar. The walls are known. The octopus folds itself into the back corner, arms wrapping gently around itself, and breathes. There is one more extraordinary thing about the octopus's nervous system, and it is perhaps the strangest of all. When an octopus arm is severed, which does happen, to predator attacks, to accidents of the reef, the arm continues to function for up to an hour after separation. It crawls along the seafloor. It grasps at things. It responds to stimuli. It explores in a small and purposeless way, acting on whatever local information its suckers gather. The arm, cut off from the central brain, runs its own program for a while, has its own brief, arm-sized life, and the octopus, meanwhile, can regenerate the arm. Over weeks, a new arm grows, sometimes not quite identical to the original, but functional. The body, told by its own biology that something is missing, quietly sets about making it again. Regeneration, recovery, the quiet work of restoration that the body does when left to its own capacity. This too is something we share in our smaller ways. When we sleep, the body restores. When we rest, the mind reorganizes. When we give ourselves the space to be still, things that were depleted begin to replenish. The biology of restoration is ancient and reliable, and asking only for time. You are giving yourself that time right now. Good. The body knows what to do with it. An octopus has a lifespan of 1 to 3 years, and in that span, it has to learn everything from scratch. Unlike birds or mammals, octopus mothers don't teach. The tiny octopuses, no bigger than a grain of rice when they hatch, rise to the surface of the ocean, eat plankton, survive or don't. And if they do, they sink back down to the reef as juveniles and begin to figure out how to be an octopus. They learn, they experiment, they discover what works and build on it. Each octopus is, in a deep sense, self-taught. Its intelligence is not installed by parenting or schooling. It emerges from encounter, from the reef, from the problems, from the accumulated experience of its own brief life. There is something wonderful in that, a mind that builds itself from what it meets, a life of learning from scratch every time. No accumulated tradition, no inherited knowledge, just the octopus and the world working things out together. You too have learned most of what matters from encounter, from the world that met you and the ways you found to meet it back. Our playlist has other stories just like this one, other quiet evenings, other corners of the natural world. They're there for you whenever you need them. In 2021, researchers published a fascinating study in which octopuses in laboratory tanks were exposed to the drug MDMA, a substance that, in humans, produces profound feelings of social openness and connection. The octopuses, which normally avoid each other and can even be aggressive when forced into close proximity, responded to the substance by becoming calm, social, and even tactile with one another. What this tells us is that the neurochemical pathways underlying social behavior, the specific proteins that the drug acts on, are present in the octopus nervous system. Proteins that, in our own brains, are associated with the feeling of warmth, of connection, of ease. The octopus has the biological infrastructure for connection. It evolved from ancestors that used these pathways, that had perhaps more social lives than modern octopuses do. The mechanisms are there, preserved, like a room in a house that isn't often opened, but has been carefully maintained. The lonely octopus, with the machinery for connection still intact. Whatever connection you feel tonight, to this quiet voice, to the imagined ocean, to the soft continuity of the natural world, the biology that makes that connection possible is ancient and shared and entirely real. We are all made for it. We carry it everywhere. The den is very quiet now. The octopus has been asleep for some time. Eyes to sleep, the same thin, horizontal eyes to sleep, the same thin, horizontal pupils shutting softly. Outside, the reef turns slowly in the dark water. A sea turtle passes, finning steadily, on her way to somewhere. A small shrimp finds a grain of sand particularly interesting and investigates it carefully before moving on. The moon is lower now, its road on the water narrowing. Everything is at rest. Everything is being tended to by its own deep biology. The great quiet work of existence, continuing without effort or instruction. You are part of that. You are being tended to right now, by your own warm biology, by the darkness, by the simple mercy of rest. Close your eyes a little more. Let the sounds around you be very far away. The octopus has inspired, in the scientists who study it, a kind of quiet reverence that you don't often see in research papers. It comes through in the small departures from formal language, the moments when a researcher writes that an octopus seemed delighted by an object, or that it appeared to consider a problem before acting. These are not scientific terms. They are the words of people who have watched something closely and feel that the precise language is failing to capture what they saw. This is perhaps the highest kind of evidence, not a measurement, but a feeling of adequacy in observation. The sense that what you are watching requires more than your current vocabulary. The octopus asks us to expand our vocabulary, not just for what intelligence is, but for what consciousness might be, for what experience might mean in a body radically different from our own, for what it feels like, if it feels like anything, to be distributed across 8 thinking arms, tasting the world through 2,000 suckers, speaking in color without making a sound. We cannot know from the outside what it is like to be an octopus, but the wondering itself, the genuine, open wondering, is one of the most beautiful things the human mind can do. It is the same curiosity the octopus turns on the world, recognizing it in ourselves, meeting it with kindness. Your wondering mind is a beautiful thing. Let it rest now. Let it be still, the way water is still when you stop stirring it. Octopuses have been observed doing something that researchers call passing cloud displays, a wave of dark coloration that moves across the mantle from one end to the other continuously, like a slow ripple. This display is used in hunting. It may confuse prey, dazzle it, disorient it, but it is also used in ways that don't clearly fit any survival purpose. Sometimes an octopus simply makes the passing cloud alone, slowly, for no obvious reason, as if it found the pattern pleasant, as if the pattern was worth making, independent of any use. An octopus making art, or something close enough to art that the difference does not feel large. You can like this video if these quiet stories are becoming a part of your bedtime. It means so much to know this channel is part of your rest. The largest octopuses in the world, the giant Pacific octopuses, have been studied by a researcher named James Cosgrove, who has spent decades diving with them off the coast of British Columbia. He describes them as having presence, a quality of being fully occupying a space, of attention that is palpable and distinct. Divers who visit the same individual octopus repeatedly report that the animal recognizes them, responds differently to known visitors than to strangers, comes closer, sooner, stays longer. Recognizing a face, or a shape, or a pattern, or a combination of cues across time, building a record of a specific individual and updating it with each new encounter. This is social intelligence of a significant order, an octopus that knows you, that has stored you in some form in its brief and brilliant life. What would it mean to be remembered by an octopus? To be a fact it has stored, a shape it has filed away, a presence it associates with something, perhaps with the warmth of being observed by something curious and unhurried, to be seen carefully by something that lives so briefly and so fully. The ocean at night is never entirely silent. There is the low, rolling sound of water moving against itself. There is the occasional click and snap of marine life. Shrimp communicating in pulses, fish with teeth grazing coral, the distant deep water sounds that travel for miles without losing their clarity. The sea is a room in which many things are said at once, in many languages. The octopus hears very little of this. It has no ear in the conventional sense, only a simple organ called a statocyst that senses vibration and helps maintain orientation in the water. It does not hear the snapping shrimp. It does not hear the distant whale song. It lives in the world of the seen and the touched and the tasted, not the world of the heard. What a quiet world. What a world of texture and light. Let your own world grow quiet now. Let the sounds of wherever you are become texture rather than meaning. Just sound like the ocean sound, present, soft, unremarkable, not telling you anything, just there. The octopus is deep in sleep. The den holds it. The water holds the den. The seafloor holds the water. The earth holds it all, turning slowly in the dark of space as it has for billions of years. A small rocky octopus den on a reef, in a sea, on a planet. One of countless small, specific places where life is happening, quietly, continuously, without announcement. You too are in your specific place, in your bed or on your sofa or wherever you have found comfort tonight. A specific person, in a specific room, in a world that is turning slowly in the dark, and you are safe, and you are resting. And the octopus far away is safe and resting too. We have traveled far tonight, from the sunlit shallows of a reef to the cold dark of the deep ocean, from the moment an octopus opens a jar to the moment it sleeps, skin flickering with color in its small stone den. We have visited a mind unlike our own, built along different lines, arrived at through a different history. A mind distributed across 8 arms, seeing light through skin, thinking in the texture of everything it touches, living its brief and full life in the permanent present of the ocean. And in all of that difference, we found familiarity, the curiosity that looks like our own curiosity, the patience that looks like our own patience, the small, quiet satisfaction of a solved problem, a completed meal, a stone set in its proper place at the entrance to a home. We are not so different after all, different enough to be endlessly interesting, similar enough to recognize ourselves. Let that recognition settle in you now, softly. The octopus asleep in its den. You finding your own rest. Both of you animals with minds made for the world, taking the time that restoration requires. Both of you briefly at rest. The ocean in our imagining is very still now. The current has eased to almost nothing. The coral is dark and sleeping, each polyp retracted into its skeleton for the night. The fish are tucked away. The sea turtles are holding position in the midwater, barely moving, conserving warmth. Everything that can rest is resting. And above the ocean, if you have been imagining this water as a real place, off the coast of some rocky, kelp-hung shore, somewhere in the Pacific or the Caribbean or the Mediterranean. Above that ocean, the night sky is very clear. Stars in their ancient patterns, doing the steady work of being stars. The moon, in whatever phase it is tonight, offering its gentle, borrowed light. Below the surface, below all of that, the octopus sleeps. Thank you for spending this evening here in this quiet space. If you found some rest tonight, even just a softening of the day's edges, please consider leaving a like. It is such a small thing that means such a large thing to this channel. And if you know someone who needs a quiet evening, share this story with them. There is enough quiet here for everyone. You are warm now. You are heavy in the good, soft way. That means the body is ready. No thing to plan or remember or worry. No thing to plan or remember or worry over. All of that can wait, and it will wait, because the night is patient, and so is tomorrow. Let your breathing be as slow as you can let it be. Let your body be as heavy as it wants to be. Let the images from this evening, the reef, the den, the rippling skin, the stone turned slowly in 2 soft arms, let them drift through your mind loosely without holding on to any of them. The octopus in its den, the water moving gently above, the stars far above the water doing their patient and ancient work. Close your eyes a little more. Let the voice fade. Let the ocean fade. Let everything be very soft and very quiet and very far away. You are safe. You are warm. The night is long and gentle, and it belongs entirely to you. Sleep well.